DARPA has modified a dragonfly to put on a backpack onto this insect, which basically controls its nervous system, so they can actually monitor and move the actual biological being in the way that they choose. Is this something that we should be kind of playing around with still? Or is this something that at this point in our technology that we feel like, you know what, we really don't need as many biologically created animals as possible? We really should start just focusing more on just purely robots. Or should we or is this kind of like a necessary hurdle that we have to get over? I mean, we see a lot with animal testing, with makeup products and things like that. But from a robot perspective, in my opinion, it's slightly concerning, right? Because you're starting to say, well, we're just going to hijack this host, and we're going to have this host do whatever we want it to do, even though it's its own physical being or entity of some form.
There was a lot of outcry over the crowdfund campaign for, do-it-yourself mouse or rat brain hacking chips, or cockroach hacking. There are several interesting ethical dilemmas and elements in there. When I see the fruits of this research being used to allow someone to use an embedded chip to move a prosthetic arm when they've had no movement, then I think it's a good thing. Especially when I put it into the context of realizing that we still do incredible amount of research on animals. For cosmetics, as you said, for reasons that seem far less compelling, but we kill a lot of animals and we torture a lot of animals for many reasons already. What's the real difference between putting chips in and remote controlling them? But it raises a couple of issues. One is, what's the end goal of this? And I think the reality is we're starting to produce some very small flying robots. Nowhere near as fuel efficient as your average insect or bird, but we're improving technologies all the time. So I think you can see a future where we don't need to talk about it being a hijacked organism. It's purely a robotic miniature surveillance device. Is that okay for us to use? Something that most people might not be aware of? And why would we do that? And one of the reasons for doing a lot of biomorphic work in robotics is this interesting two-way street, which we learn so much more about how biology works when we try to build artificial systems to imitate it. And vice versa, we then learn so much more about how physical, robotic, mechanical and electrical systems work when we try to replicate how the organisms work. So robotics feeds our understanding of biology, which then feeds our understanding of robotics. And this kind of feedback loop goes all the way back to Gray Walter's tortoises in the 50s. Mm-hmm. And he was a brain scientist, and he built the first autonomous mobile robots, analog, and they were light-following robots. And they displayed a very lifelike behavior simply through, phototropic behaviors. And what inspired him was creating a physical modeling of the workings of the neurons in the brain.